Welcome back to episode number 26 of the Becoming More podcast. Before we get started, I'd like to ask all of you to rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the bell for some notifications when we post an episode, usually every Thursday. Here in Becoming More, we go in depth talking to some amazing people about how they have changed their lives dramatically and have inspired others to work towards the same. Today, I am joined by Angela Wheeler. Ange, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It's a balmy 60 degrees here in Baltimore in
Ugh,
mid-November.
it's starting to drop finally in Denver. I'm like, oh, this is a real winter. I'm not in California anymore. So I'm
We'll
a
see how
little
you
jealous.
like it in like January.
Yeah. Ask me once I've been stuck in it for a couple months and we'll see. We'll see how happy I am.
So, Ange, one thing I like to ask each guest at the beginning of the show is, what is the bottom line of your journey? Because Ange said so.
I feel like the simplest, easy way is a series of ups and downs. I mean, I grew up a really athletic kid. I was always tall, gained a lot of weight, like I think most of us do when our metabolism hits that wall and we get that first desk job. And I realized I couldn't just keep doing that. I couldn't just keep shoving my face full of junk. So I lost the weight and I thought I was fixed, right? I think that happens a lot. You fix the outside and you don't fix the inside. So now that's definitely a lot more of my journey is kind of checking in with myself, making sure mentally I'm making just as much progress as I was physically. And now I'm even recovering from an injury. So it's really, I got really far and made all this progress. And now I'm back to a new step one, a new day one, and just trying to keep going forward from that.
Yeah, that definitely, it's kind of like the just keep moving forward, right? That you have
You
to
have
do.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of interesting. So we'll get to like your past, but you kind of mentioned the injury, right? So with being injured and like you can't maybe do all the things that you would do when you lost all the weight, and like if you want to keep it off or whatever, have you found yourself finding other ways to stay on track and accountable to yourself in order to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually I restarted my Instagram because if anything else, I really wanted to document my journey because I injured my back doing deadlifts. And I didn't give myself time to rest. I thought I was invincible and hurt it to the point where I have a herniated disc on my L5S1. So it's pinching the sciatic nerve on my right side. So I mean, there were 6 weeks where I could not walk. I could not stand up completely. I probably couldn't go more than 5 feet without serious pain that caused me to fall to the floor. So just kind of tracking that progress to be able to hold up and be like, okay, 6 weeks ago you couldn't walk, and just documenting physical therapy for anyone who is kind of questioning if they should go do physical therapy or any kind of training movement. I would 100% recommend it because I wouldn't be where I was without people showing me how to move my body again and really focusing less on kind of strength and lifting and more flexibility, mobility, just being able to do normal stuff, being able to walk upstairs, being able to bend over. That is kind of my big thing right now, being able to touch my toes again. So it really is the little things and you just have to keep building on it day by day. So
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned documenting. I know I want to throw it in your plug quick. That you also have a blog that you're writing, right?
I do. Yes. I have had a blog before. People who've known me since high school will hopefully not embarrass me too much and talk about that ever. um, but yeah, it's Get Fit Again Ange on Weebly. And just, yeah, I've kind of made it a goal to write again, to put my thoughts out there and not be too embarrassed by myself and my journey, to leave it up for a year. That's kind of my goal with that right now. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll have a link in the show notes for that, because as well as your Instagram, because everybody
Yeah.
needs to follow you, right? Uh,
If you want.
yeah, if you want. But the website's good too. And
Yeah.
then yeah, I also had the embarrassing blog back in the day of I had that before Facebook was a thing.
MySpace days.
No, it was this other one in between MySpace and Facebook. MySpace was kind of going like getting weird. It was called
Yeah.
like Zanga.
Oh, I know. I don't think I ever had it, but I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just like LiveJournal and a bunch of other stuff that existed in the pre-Facebook
I was going to
times.
say we're aging ourselves a little bit, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you can't help it. All right. So, what usually I go on background, but you kind of cover your background a little bit growing up, like you were,
uh,
athlete and all that. So I'm kind of going to go to like focus on the weight a little bit, and I want to kind of hit
for sure.
mental stuff. So first, like, I know you're down in like 120 pounds, right? Or so.
Yeah, that's yeah, down 120. Yeah.
So what was it that like led to your gain? Was it just, and I know you kind of touched on it a little bit that like, after as your metabolism slowed down, was it like just an accumulation of other of factors? Like for me, like, it was just like I was having a sedentary job and then I was like just eat shoveling more stuff in my face. And then I was
Right.
like not active after work. And then so stuff like that. Was it those kind of things or was it a specific thing that you saw that really led to it?
I mean, it was definitely mostly that because I think something that gets missed a lot. I mean, you could probably do several podcasts about education reform and what's needed there. But I mean, we aren't really taught as kids, nutrition. But when you're an athlete growing up, they tell you, you need to fuel your body, you need to eat because you're burning all these calories. And then you magically stop doing that. It doesn't always link in your head. Oh, I'm not running around for hours and hours. I don't need to eat as much, So just continuing to eat like I was an athlete. Um, I was 19, acting like I was 21. So I was drinking and partying a lot with my
Mhm.
friends, college experience. And then, yeah, I got that first office job after I had been working retail and being on my feet for 8-10 hours a day. And then I was at a desk. So continuing to eat like I was an athlete, not getting any kind of movement in. And then I'm sure a lot of females out there can relate. I started on a more hormonal birth control, and I didn't realize until I got it out at the start of my weight loss journey how much that had been impeding me because I was cutting calories. I was eating like 1,000 calories a day, and my weight was still climbing. And it wasn't until I got the implant out that then I was still restricting myself and the weight just started falling off. So like that hormones in females is a really big thing. So it was kind of what you mentioned, like eating like a crappy human being stuck at a desk and then just pumping my body full of these hormones. My body was like, oh, cool. We want to hold on to the weight because we're not making a baby. So let's just hold on to all that fat. Like, yeah.
So when you went ahead and like and you made these changes, did you like follow any kind of nutrition plan or anything, or did you just kind of just try to do like mindfulness, or what was the plan that you went with when you did made those changes?
So I started with Whole30, which, if anyone doesn't know, essentially it is a diet. So it's not meant to be a lifestyle. It's meant to be 30 days, very restrictive, where you cut out dairy, any kind of additive, preservative, any kind of processed sugar, fat, pretty much anything that isn't a whole food that when you walk on the outside of a store, so like the produce, the meats, fresh stuff, anything that's not on that outside of the store, you can't have, which was really hard. The sugar detox, I thought I was going to die. I was like, if this is what drug addicts go through, like, thank God I've never picked up anything stronger because I don't know that I'd make it. And after those 30 days were done, I just kind of stuck to it because I think anyone who eats a little cleaner and a little healthier, you notice that change in your mood and your body. So sorry. You feel a lot better. Come here. You feel a lot better. And so you want to keep doing it. You want to keep feeling good. You want to keep feeling that way. So I definitely indulged a little bit. Like I let dairy come back into my life, but I kind of stuck to that cleaner eating. Somebody told me one time, they're like, oh, you're like a lifestyle eater. So I wasn't like keto or paleo, like no carbs or no fat, but just I really tried to limit anything that wasn't a whole unprocessed food, pretty much.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah. I feel like everybody likes their labels right now. So if
Yeah,
you're not in
you
one of the
know,
cool groups, you're like you're weird. It's always like
exactly.
my favorite thing is when people. I had somebody that reached out to me to be on their podcast, and it was like called Ketones and Coffee, and I was like, hey, I at the time I've tried keto a little bit, but that for me it hasn't really worked too well. It's just I
Yeah.
get like tired of the options. Like I want more than
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But regardless, this person I was like first at that time I hadn't done keto, so I was like first I don't do keto, and second I don't like coffee, so I don't really know if you want me on your podcast. And after that, it was like I was like I'll come on, but I mean,
Yeah. You've
uh,
been warned at this point.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was radio silence after that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like a lot of times if it's either keto, paleo, Weight Watchers, I'm sorry, WW, or WLS, like those are the main like tags that you see on Instagram, right? I mean, beyond
Exactly.
that, you don't see much, or because it depends. Well, it depends on what version of weight loss surgery, but all are good options for ways to improve your life.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But then sometimes it gets into like the as some people might call it, like the keto cult, or the like. Each one has their own version of
Your own little click.
the little click, and then
Yeah.
it's always interesting. I kind of float. That's why I jokingly say I float among the clicks, because like I get along. I have keto friends, and then I have like weight loss surgery friends. Like had a meetup in Philly, and it was all weight loss surgery people except for me.
Oh
and
my
then
gosh. Yeah.
and so I was honorary in that.
Great. They were like, you can sit with us. You're okay.
But it was like John and Kenny and Rob's and some other
Oh,
people.
yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, cool. So we went over what you did for nutrition. So and obviously once you decided to make this change, you had the athletic experience, so you knew how to. You weren't like afraid of the gym, like some people are when they're overweight. I'm
Yeah.
assuming, right? You were more comfortable with that.
Oh, yeah. I even, my high school actually did a weightlifting class too. So, like, it was something I had definitely dabbled in, and I knew what a deadlift was. I knew what a snatch was. I was familiar with concepts. Honestly, I think going to the gym was so hard for me because I knew I could do all those things. And I remembered being able to do all those things. And I had struggled then, even after losing, I think I had lost 85 pounds before I even went to the gym. Um, and I would struggle like at home to do a push up, to do a squat. And it was hard because I was like, God, I'm not as big as I was, but I don't want to go be the big girl who's like struggling at the gym. And, I think everyone goes in with that ego. Oh God, everyone's going to watch me, when reality, nobody cares. Like, no, everybody's there for themselves, but
Every now and then, there's somebody that does watch you. That you're always like. I had an instance a couple months ago where some kid, like they were probably like 16, and they were
mm,
like snickering at me, and I was
oh,
working on my trainer. I could hear them, but I just like
yeah,
I didn't care, because that's the only time I don't have headphones on is when I'm with my trainer.
right. Cause you have to hear them.
So but like some other guy who was at the gym, who was friends with my trainer, went over them and said and like got in their face and just yelled like shut the fuck up, because he
Good.
saw it too. And yeah, that's nice. But yeah, and actually it was funny because on a couple nights ago was the first time that when I was at the gym, like, I saw somebody bigger than me. So
Oh, wow.
which was always nice. It's always so I went up to him. I'm like glad you're here, and not for me, but for them, because
Right. No, that I've done that before too. Like, because you don't ever want somebody to feel how you felt, but
yeah.
it's that weird, like, what do you say that's encouraging but not condescending, like,
Yeah, that was the best I came up with in like the 30 seconds as they were coming in as I was leaving. So I was like, I kind of circled back, and I was like, glad you're here. And he's like, oh, thanks. And he's like, I've only been coming like for about a month. I'm like, yeah, I said, keep coming.
keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I know, because it's tough to, especially when you have life hit you. You don't want to, like, sometimes it takes a back burner, and as
100%.
for me this year, but it's still
Yeah.
going. So just
That's
not
all
as
you
much as I
can
want
do.
to, right? Yeah, and that's kind of where I wanted to shift to the mental side of things. So I say mental, I mean like mentality.
Yeah.
Um, not that we're all not all mental cases at times, but the so obviously you had you're an athlete, you were pretty, I mean, pretty well in shape, let's say, and
Yeah.
then you get out of shape, and then you get back into shape, and then you have an injury, and now like it's like that it's a up and down, like you were saying in the beginning, right?
Yeah, definitely.
How has your mindset, that's what the word I was looking for, mindset, not mentality, how has your mindset changed from like the person you were when you were at the heaviest at 300 or so to now where you are, where you don't go back into those old habits? Because like that's so tough. That can be so tough. So for me, I'll give you an example. So for
Yeah.
me, having the baby, and then every year on my birthday, like I want to just take it easy, and I kind of like this my birthday, my wife's birthday, other stuff going on that are on the same time within like 5 weeks of each other. So I kind of just like, I'm like, eh. And so this year I gained a little bit back of what I lost. So I gained like
Yeah.
30 or 35 back. And now I'm working on losing it again. But what do you do? So like if even if you have a gain of some amount like that, so that way you don't go back in old habits, or even if like you just don't get, even like not just weight, but just like if like something comes up and you get like kind of puts you in a mood because you don't want to, where you don't want to deal with the outside world or something like that. What are the things that you've done that you can do to like kind of curb it a little bit and then like work through it?
It's so funny because I had my kind of light bulb moment of, oh, you're that's a new good habit. The biggest thing is acknowledging. Like I think as a society we've realized, you have to validate other people, that's all, anyone wants is even complete strangers, when they're calling on the phone, they want to be validated and respected. But I think we very often treat other people way better than we ever treat ourselves. Like I think we are the meanest, maybe it's just me, but like I know I am the meanest person to myself. Like I told someone the other day that constantly if I'm working or like if I'm working on a blog post and I mess something up, like my go-to phrase is like, you fucking idiot. Just I get down on myself. And so for me, really just validating and acknowledging like the weather shift. I haven't really had a big weather shift living in California, even living in Tennessee, it's fairly warm. It doesn't really get cold and icy. Um, so just recognizing being like, okay, you're in a really bad mood. That's okay. You can be in a bad mood. You can be sad. Is there a reason for it? And if my brain automatically goes, no, I'm just sad, I just want to feel that way, it's replying back to my brain, okay, that's okay. You can be that way. And honestly, it's helped me get through it. I've always kind of like to say you can have your pity party, throw your pity party, but you can't live in your pity party. So just acknowledging like you're in a bad mood, you feel sad, you feel depressed, you want to lay in bed all day. Those things aren't good. So, you can have your 5 minutes and you can be upset about it. You can write about it. You can vent to family or somebody won't judge you about it. But then you have to move through it. You can't live in that depression because when I was 300 pounds, that was a constant state. I was constantly sad. I was constantly upset. And I wasn't doing anything about it. I was just living and still denying it. I denied that I had depression for years, even when I would have episodes where I was like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to figure out a way and I'm going to kill myself. Like I still the next day was like, oh, I'm not depressed. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Like, so I've really noticed that when I acknowledge my own feelings, like I would yours, like if you came to me and you were like, I'm depressed, I don't know why, I would be like, that's fine. That's okay. You're allowed to feel that way. So talking to myself like I would talk to anyone else has honestly been my biggest like mental hack, I guess. So like you got to talk to yourself like you would to somebody you like, even if you don't like yourself in that moment. Like you have to talk to yourself like you do like yourself. So
Yeah, I think it's so tough because like we all like so even the people that you like, right? You don't know everything about them. Even if you,
Yeah, you never will.
even if it's your best friend in the whole
Yeah,
world, you know each other your whole life. You don't know everything. Whereas with yourself, you know everything.
way too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know way too much. You have to see yourself in the mirror after a shower. So
Yeah. At your
uh
worst moments. Yeah.
yeah. So and that's where it can get tough because like you don't, and I mean I think any of us are our own worst critic, at least most people that aren't so narcissistic, and we know a few of them. But you know it's like you're constantly like in your own head, so you're like you don't want to give yourself the grace that I think you should sometimes.
Yeah.
And then like even when I had mentioned how I gain weight, like I still like I'll beat myself up about it, and then I'll get on the scale and I'm like I don't even want to touch, I don't even want to go on it because I'm just
No, I've stepped
I
on
know.
it and then
Yeah.
just not looked down. Been like, if I don't look at it, it's not real. It doesn't.
Oh, mine speaks the weight to me if I stay on it long
Oh
enough.
no. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So that's I mean I can turn that off, but it's been like that since it was well over 600 pounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough because it's it's you see a lot. The thing I find, I don't know if this is something for you too, is you see a lot of people like, especially like recently with the people that did the summer shredding event.
Oh yeah.
So like their pictures all over, and shout out to Jarp's Journey because he did quite well at that. He
Yeah.
doesn't want to call him Jarps, even though he
Yeah.
probably
He
won't
did
hear
great.
this. But you see that and you're like I could do that, like I could get there and do that, right? But then you're
Mhm.
like, but then it's a matter of getting there and doing it. And then also some people sometimes I also think like sometimes your body is also not gonna get there without other help. So like I thought about it like because I had plastic surgery a couple years ago. And I think about that too because I have this excess that just hangs. Like, so I don't know how that's gonna come off that easily, right? And
Exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, so you see that and you're just like I wish I was there. I think that's mostly what it is. It's like I'm like I wish I was there. Like I wish I was that at that point where I could do that. Because I have a
Exactly.
goal, like I want to do it in 2023. So I have like 2 years. But we'll see if that happens. Because it's just it's tough because especially with social media, like you see everybody's highlight reel. And
I always call it the highlight reel because even when people, and I'm totally to blame for this too, like even when people are like, I'm having the worst day ever, guys, like, no, you're not. You still powdered your nose real quick before you got on camera. Like, come
yeah,
on. Even your worst days are your highlight days. Like,
yeah. I also find I've been kind of stepping away a bit. Like I don't post nearly as much because I find like the repetitiveness of the postings just annoy me. Like, so I did post Transformation Tuesday yesterday solely because 7 years ago I was on a trip to Seattle and my photo that came up in my memories on Facebook was like a
mm,
good photo for it. So I was like, I'll use that. And I used it. And when I was looking at it too, it was one of those things where I was looking at the photo and I'm like, I remember this person. Like I remember my face is very big, and
mhm.
I was like, God, it sucked walking around Seattle at that size. But you know, other than like when I see a picture that I want to use, I almost never do those posts anymore. Like the only posts I really have are for the podcast, and then I do a lot of stories because I just stuff that amuses me.
Yeah, stories. Well, stories are easy too. Like you can just reshare something real quick, or it's like it's
Yeah.
up for 15 seconds and then you don't have to think about it again. But
Mhm.
yeah, I joked when I wasn't working and didn't have like a set schedule that the only way I knew what day of the week it was is because I would get on Instagram and see like Monday motivation, oh, flashback Friday, whatever day of the
Yeah.
week was. I was like, oh, okay, it's
Yeah.
Monday. Got it. I'm direct, guys. Like,
Yeah. I had a conversation with another Instagram friend last week. We did like a live talking about social media and the mental health aspects of it.
oh yeah.
Daryl Perry.
YLF. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he works in social media, like marketing or something. I forget exactly what.
Oh, he really
So,
knows
so
then.
he knows his social media quite a bit. And I was just talking to, social media is just it can be such a like a mind fuck on with you because you're looking at it and you're just like it's not going how I want it to go. And
Yep.
people will say, "Oh, don't compare yourself to anyone else," but everyone compares every.
Like that's what we're designed to do
I
is to
mean that's
compare
what we all
ourselves.
do. Like, and I
Yes.
mean, I'll even have said it many times, like, don't compare yourself, but everyone does because at some point you are. I mean, legitimately, like you'll see pictures, people say, don't compare. Your only comparison is yourself or whatever.
You're your own greatest
Yeah.
competition. That's one I see all the time too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I for the most part I agree, but it's also just tough when you see people like just advancing past the point where you are, and you're just
Mhm.
like that's mostly what
Because
happens when
it
I look
is
at it.
that where you're like, I know I'll be there one day. Why
Mhm.
can't I be there right now when it looks like everyone and their mom is there too?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and so someone who's coming on the podcast in a couple of weeks, comic Anthony D. He and I are like we're similar age, like he's a few years older than me,
mhm.
but like we've both been on the same kind of roller coaster last year because
Yeah.
like I'm pretty much at the same place I was last year at this time, and it's frustrating.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But it's also like I also look Denise, who was on like episode 4 of this show, I
Love
forget,
needs.
3.
Yeah.
She said you lost 200 fucking pounds. Get a grip.
Right. Yeah. It's, you really do have to like give yourself a reality check, like when
Yeah.
you're having those pity parties. And
Oh yeah.
that's
Because
what
like right now I'm at like 180 minus 180 because I gained some after
yeah.
a baby, but I also don't post like every week about my weight either because I realize like that's not really helping me. Like that was becoming more of uh, a mindset problem because I was getting not depressed, but I was getting like that negativity when I wouldn't see the number go where I wanted it to go.
Yeah.
And then I get dick bags that would comment and use my posts for their own social their own like agenda sometimes.
I've
Um,
joked that when like one of my pictures gets put on one of those fake like wraps or something, that's when I'll know I've made it. Like when they start to steal my images.
yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
I think I was talking with John about this one time because it's funny, he and I started like losing weight about the same time. Like I think he got surgery like a couple months after I started or something. But the community as it is now, the weight loss community, fitness, even if you want to go bigger, was not here. This did not exist. And I don't know if I would have made as much progress back then if it was like it is now, because I think I would have gotten stuck in that competition. Like, oh God, I'm not where, Jane Doe is. Like that's really hard. I'm gonna starve myself, which probably would have made me binge and just like yo-yo. So it like I'm kind of grateful that I started when I did, but even now I totally fall into the trap of comparing myself to people constantly. So
Yeah, and then there's always like the like especially this time of year like constantly food things that you can go to like the go-tos
mhm.
in the fall because you're like and people have
Yes.
the season whatever I forget how you put it
Like,
sads.
oh, the seasonal depression, is that a thing?
Yeah
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
I can't think of what it's
Yep.
called but yeah and you know it every year it kind of happens with a lot of people because you'll see like you always see like the posts in like towards the end of December, and they're like it's almost a new year. I'm gonna start fresh and
New
uh,
Year to me.
new year,
Yeah.
new me, and all that bullshit. And
It
um,
is. It totally is. Or you'll see it's usually about this time, or maybe it starts in October. But don't wait until the new year.
oh
Start
yeah,
now. You
oh
could
yeah,
have so many days
yeah.
behind you.
I saw somebody post the other day. They're like, you have 50 days left in the year. Make it count or
Oh,
something. And I appreciate that, but it's at the same time it's so tough. It can be so tough depending on what people's situations are because
yeah, like where
you
you're
never
at
know. I
too. It's
mean,
just
and I get it. People are trying to be, especially people that have larger accounts, are trying to be motivational and all
motivating.
that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it comes off a little callous, but then sometimes it's also like they're just trying to be them. It's also them just share. I think it's just sometimes they see it like somewhere else and they're like, I'll share this, and
There's
someone
always
will
like
read it.
two sides of the coin. Like you're being motivational, but there's also then that added pressure of like, oh crap, I got to make this count. And yeah, and people just got to find the beat of their own drum. And I don't think that gets said enough, that it's okay to just do your own thing, especially with the little clicks, the little, you have to do keto or you have to do this, or I feel like we've said keto a lot. And again, we're not bashing on keto. Whatever works for you is the point. But like
keto's the easy target because it's the most popular one.
It's the Atkins of the 2000s right now. So it's the target.
Yeah, paleo was big in the mid 2010s, and now here we are in like 2018 is like till now has been keto, right?
And carnivore has kind of edged its way in there too. Like,
oh, don't worry, we got in 2 months. That's all we're gonna hear about is carnivore.
Oh yeah, because it's the carnivore in January. Man, I forgot. I think I blocked that out from my memory.
Yeah, and that's why I always like the 75 hard will come back too, and then that's always the interesting one, especially for people that are living in non-warm climates, because like you're trying to do an outdoor workout for 45 minutes in like in Colorado.
I mean, just go stand outside, I guess, and maintain like a normal body temperature, because I'll burn calories trying to stay warm. Like,
just shovel snow. But that was always an interesting one for me, was the trying to do that. I never did the 75 hard because
it's never fit my lifestyle. Like,
that, and I can do a lot of the thing. I don't really care about the reading part. As much as that sounds bad,
the books behind you.
I know, but I don't want to be like, it's one of those things where I don't want to be forced to read something.
I get that. Yeah.
And actually most of those books are not nonfiction. Couple are, but yeah, most of them are fiction. But and I don't think anybody will really see books when I crop this for YouTube. But the 75 hard, like I think another thing Comic Anthony D did last year, he did 75 on, which was like a modified 75 hard, and it was
I've seen a couple people, or they'll say like a 75 my way.
Yeah, and it was basically like, I think instead of doing 2 workouts, it was doing 1 workout a day.
Yeah,
just because that's more than you're doing anyway.
Right, at least you're doing something. You're moving. Like,
and that's kind of where I was last year when I did my walk-in, because I would go walking every day. And
yeah, I remember that. How long was your streak again?
191 days.
Yeah, that's so great.
And it's funny because I influenced other people to do it. Like my Wages History, he always gives me props for it, because he saw me doing it like way bigger than he was, and he was like, if he can do it, I can do it. Right. And now he's trying to do like a full year.
That just blows. Committing to like a full year every single day of anything, like it could even be drinking like a gallon of water every day, and I'm like, that's just a lot of pressure for me. Like, that makes my little heart get anxious.
But he did like over 200, and then one day he missed it. Like, he thought he hit it and he just missed it, like by like less than like 100 steps or something. And he wasn't mad. He didn't get mad, but he was like, I'm starting over. And I was like, oh, that sucks so bad. I got close to that a few times. I mean, I was at the point where, and this was another thing where it kind of became a little unhealthy, where I was literally on vacation in Seattle again, in a hotel lobby,
pacing
around the convention center area of a hotel.
Nope.
So I could get my step. I did this for like an hour, just walking, because I didn't want to walk outside because I didn't know the area that well.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think I'll just walk inside. And so I was going to go to the gym and just use their treadmill. Yeah. Gym was closed. This was September of last year.
Oh.
And in Washington State, they had much more stricter rules than other places did.
Yeah. Washington was pretty.
Yeah. Strict. Washington, I mean, the whole left coast, right? Yeah. they all are pretty strict.
Yeah.
but yeah, and it was just one of those things where I kind of became, this is kind of why I stopped it, because I was like, I had like the streak became more important than actually doing it. Like it became keeping it alive than, if I only get 8,000 steps today, it's not the end of, like, it's still, that's
right. You still did 8,000 steps, but
that's still like about 4 miles.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of 5 miles.
But in your brain, you're like,
right. My brain, I need that streak. I need that number. Mm-hmm. Right. And like that, I feel like that mindset piece is so important, because like you can get yourself so wrapped up in it. and I was to the point where it was like I think it was like December 7th, because I did like I posted about it. It was like, a date which will live in infamy, just as a joke because of Pearl Harbor. But I mean, it's been long enough. I can make a joke.
Yeah.
But the it was one of those things where I have these other goals I want to do. I want to hit, like, professionally, and I had some other
Yeah.
stuff going on, and I was going back to the gym and like working with a trainer. And it's like, I was like the walking, and also it's here in the East Coast, it gets dark at like 4:30.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You can't. When are you able to go
So
outside
then,
and
and
walk?
I'm not really big on walking in the dark because I don't want to fall. Like I mean, I live in a community that was built in the 50s and 60s. So the sidewalks are not even, because it's lots of, over time, cracks and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
And so I mean, mostly I know the sidewalks because I've walked them enough that I know where things are. But just and then especially in the winter, ice, snow, like elements, and plus it's fucking cold sometimes.
Exactly. So why would you want to be
So
outside?
so yeah, so it was a lot of that, and I just was like, I'm just gonna take a break. I'm gonna stop now before I injure myself, not to because I know you got injured and doing something else as well. But I was like, I don't want to get myself injured. Mostly I was thinking like falling on ice. And then
I
also
mean,
I
I've
have.
done that too. I
Yeah.
bruised my tailbone in college because back in Alaska, like I fell on ice so many times, like the stairs to our dorms never got shoveled. And I fell enough that I literally had to sit on one of those stupid ice donuts because I bruised my coccyx is the technical term for it. Like, how embarrassing, 19, just let me
Yeah.
bring my granny pillow with me to class. Like, it was awful. So it's a very real
Yeah.
fear that
Yeah.
you had of slipping on ice.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I slipped on ice a lot as a kid, so that's why I always am careful. But yeah, it was just like, it was kind of one of those things where it was more time management than anything, right? Because I was
yeah.
just like, I knew I didn't have enough time in the day. Like, I started that streak when we were off because of the pandemic. Like, I wasn't
Right. So it
working,
was like, what else do you have to
and I was
do?
like, no big deal, I'll just do this. And then as work came back, I like slowly saw myself stretching it and stretch, because like when I was doing it at first, I was doing like 15, 17, 18, 19, 20,000 steps a day. And then as the work came back, I was like 10,500, 10,100, 10,003. Like,
Just as long as you hit it.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. But that was, again, that was just like going back to that same mindset of like, I just need this number, where the number's not important. It's the getting the activity more than
yep.
anything in some way.
Well, and it's just replacing one addiction with another.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Like you replace food. That used to be the comfort. That used to be the thing you'd reach for all the time. You're just replacing it with walking. Or I know when I first started going to the gym, like I was literally just replacing like that craving for food. Like, well, my gym's open 24/7. I can go walk on the treadmill for 20 minutes. Like you're not really fixing the problem. You're just pushing it onto something else.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, treadmill for 20 minutes. That sounds awful.
when you're bored,
I
am,
guess.
you can't
Yeah.
sleep.
I,
Like
I go on it at the gym for 5 minutes just to warm up, to get my heart rate up. And every time I'm like, God, I cannot wait to get off this thing.
the longest 5 minutes of your life. Yeah.
I know. All right, cool. I'm glad we talked about this, because it's a topic that I feel like doesn't get talked about much. Even though
Yeah.
we kind of talked about our own experiences, but because people, like, mostly it's focusing on the highlight reel, so you don't hear the struggles that people have, especially like,
Dark
it's
side.
so easy.
You don't go.
So I do have an Alaska question. Where in
Okay.
Alaska were you located? Like, you can't really tell me a city because I won't know where the fuck that is. So like,
Well,
were you down like in the islands on the south side, like the part that
I
comes
was
behind near
right in the
Canada,
middle.
right in
I
the
was
middle?
right smack dab in the middle. Like the area is literally called the interior. And it's literally right in the middle of the state. It's where all the gold mining. So the biggest town there that some people have heard of is called Fairbanks, and
Mhm.
that it's called that the Golden Heart City, because that's where all the gold mining was. And then my hometown is 12 miles outside of that, and a lot of people have heard of it, just didn't know. It's called North Pole, Alaska. We own that shit. We have candy cane light poles. We have the Santa Claus house, and there's the sweetest couple who plays Mr. and Mrs. Claus. Like there's reindeer out front that you can go see. Like we own it. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I knew that and I forgot it.
Like,
I'm glad you reminded me.
people ask me, and I always hesitate because I'm always like, what reaction do I want to deal with
Mhm.
today? So I say Fairbanks sometimes, and other times I say North Pole, but it's 12 miles. Like that's nothing. So,
Yeah. My wife's company actually has an office in Fairbanks, and she
okay.
has to travel sometimes to different offices. And she was almost going to go there last summer, but then it didn't happen. And I was going to go with her. I was like, because I want to go to like I've been on this like national park kick, so I was like, I'm going to go to Denali National
Yeah.
Park and see that. And it was going to be like in August. Didn't happen. So and it's probably not going to happen for a while. So
If you
because
guys can go, definitely. Because yeah, Denali in the summer is gorgeous, beyond gorgeous. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So yeah, Alaska. So there in like that area, did you like have like the in the winter, is it like dark a lot or is it normal?
Oh yeah. Like I still deal with seasonal depression down here, but it's a joke compared to back home. Like on the solstice where I'm at, and we're not even like the darkest place. But they record it at like 3.5 hours of daylight, but it never
Wow.
fully peaks. So even at the height of daylight, it's like dusk out. So you go to work in the dark, you go home in the dark. It's -20 outside on average. Like it's a beautiful place to live in the winter. It's just if you don't mind the dark and the cold and being stuck with your family
So,
24/7.
so it's like 3.5 hours, like for the winter, like for most of the winter, it's like that.
Yeah,
Oh wow. And then in the summer, is it like 20
it's the
hours of
opposite.
daylight? Yeah.
Yeah. So it again, the sun never fully sets. Like I have photos from summertime, the last time I was back home in like 2019, and I'm up on this hill and just you do a panorama around. And I mean, it looks like maybe it's like 6, like the sun's starting to set, and no, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So, and we
Wow.
do in the summer a midnight sun festival, and they have a midnight sun baseball game where the first pitch gets thrown out at midnight. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. Alaska's it's just an interesting place. I've never been, but
Fun world.
one day, but because it just because it's part of the United States, it's kind of it's a little
Are
different
we
because
the United States? Are we Russia? Who knows?
Canada, you're
Canada.
kind of like all of the above, right?
Everybody likes to claim us, but we're our own
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. All right. So kind of getting towards the end here of our discussion. I kind of gave you a heads up on these because I always like to ask each guest like a hobby or interest of theirs that's not weight loss or fitness related. So I was curious what
Yeah.
yours is.
So definitely kind of reading, writing is probably, my non-weight loss thing with the blog. And then I did actually just finish a grad program for book publishing and editing that I'll hopefully be able to find some career use for. But I think that's really fascinating to literally see, an idea that somebody had and decided to write down on paper, and then the process of going through the editing and even what goes into the cover and production. Like they will literally sit down and have discussions about how thick the paper needs to be. Like there's so much that goes into it, and I nerd out on that. So definitely like reading, writing. Being in Colorado now, I have access to all these fun like trails, and I mean, I look to the west and I see the mountains, so I'm looking forward to exploring that when they're not covered in snow. That'll happen. So yeah.
I mean, are they not covered in snow? Because like even in the summer,
You can see it, but it's definitely
I
not like if I drove now, I would hit
mhm,
it. And there's
yeah,
even certain roads where you legally have to have chains on, or they will pull you over and cite you.
yeah.
So I probably won't go right now during that time of the year, but maybe I'll pick up skiing or snowboarding or
That's cool. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
cool. Yeah, yeah. I was at. We were in Denver a couple years ago, and we went to Pikes Peak. It was in like May.
Oh yeah,
It
Pikes
was
is nice.
still cold.
Oh yeah, it's
I mean, it's pretty high. It's like 14,000 feet or something. But
well, yeah, that has been something to get used to. Not even my skin's been super dry with the elevation, and I tried to bake something the other day, and it took way longer than it was supposed to, and it didn't click in my head like you're a mile above sea level. So things take a little bit different time to
Oh,
process.
I had no idea that it affected baking.
Yeah, it takes you like way longer.
Huh.
So yeah, it was a learning experience for
Yeah, because
sure.
the times I've been to places that far above sea level, it's always like I'm getting stuff made for me. Like
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
not
you're on
cooking it.
vacation. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always a little different. But yeah, cool. So yeah, the I find it interesting the paper thickness of the for publishing,
They're
because
so yeah, they're
you don't think of
so
that, or like I always think of, in school when you would write papers and it'd be like, and you'd always try to inch up the font a little bit so that way you
yeah,
had
yeah.
you could fill the page and don't have to worry about not meeting the page requirement. And I always find that sometimes when I'm reading, when I see different books, because different books have different um different ways they lay out the pages. The interesting one I have, and it's, you can see it because you see the book, the black book behind me is Discipline
Mhm.
Equals Freedom by Jocko,
Oh
and that
yeah.
book has black paper and white font, and I've
Oh,
like
oh, I
almost
can
never
see the
seen that.
spine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've almost never seen that, and I was like, that's interesting, because
That would cost a lot more to
yeah, because
print.
I was thinking, man, that's because you're just, because the black, just the paper alone, it's got to be more expensive. And then,
Yeah. Oh,
and then
100%.
and then I
Yeah.
saw a lot of white ink.
Well, and two, if you ever find a book where like say a page is like backwards or something, like just some very obvious printing error, those are worth a lot of money. And sometimes you can even contact the publisher and let them know, like, hey, I have this weird book, and they will pay you to send it to them because they don't want these like weird copies in the world, or they want to figure out what went wrong, or they'll
Mhm.
replace it for you. Like if there was one they were telling us about where literally all the pages were put in backwards. So like you
Oh
couldn't
wow.
read the book. Like if you think of how a page goes in the spine, it was the opposite. So like you couldn't have flipped it to read it unless you held it up against a mirror. And they were like, please send it back. We'll send you a new one. We'll send you a special one. Like, so yeah, they want those. They want those back. They don't like them being out
Yeah.
in the world. So
But then if it's a really good, if it's a really famous one and you have it like many years later, it's worth so much more money if you can't
yeah,
keep it and just buy another one.
they told me that, and I was like, I'm gonna keep it. Like, unless you're gonna pay me like hundreds of dollars, like I'm gonna
Yeah,
sit on it.
I've seen some like on I think like Antiques Roadshow and stuff. Sometimes they've had
Oh
books that
yeah,
had that where it was like a misprint, but the book was so like so rare, and then that misprint made it even more rare. And then they're like,
yeah.
this is worth like X amount of dollars. And if you have the right book, obviously, if I have like Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk, is probably not going to be that. But if I had like an original of the Divine Comedy
Oh,
with like a misprint, like a misprinted page or something, like
or
that would
even
be
like a
worth.
smudged letter, you would
Yeah,
be rolling
yeah.
in it. Yeah,
So that's where it gets a little interesting at this collector side, because collectors
the value
love
of
the
things.
whatever's a rare, or whatever's rare.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever people have decided it's worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So wrapping up, I'm gonna go into Brett's corner, which is 5 questions that I ask everyone. The same 5 questions for now. Uh, so number one is, what movie, TV show, or event are you most excited for in the coming year?
You actually shared the first one that I thought of the other day because I saw the new Venom a couple weekends ago, and the post-credit scene, my mind was blown. I'm already very excited for the new Spider-Man, but like that, I was just like, it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good. Like it's just, I think it's gonna bring back a lot of nostalgia for the Tobey Maguire era of Spider-Man. So that one I'm very excited about. I think 2022 is just going to be a really good year for movies because they're backlogged from COVID.
Yeah.
Because Death on the Nile, I don't know if Henry Perot, like Murder on the Orient Express. So Death on the Nile is the next one kind of in that series. And like Murder on the Orient Express was so good that I know Death on the Nile is going to be just great. So I'm really excited for that. And then I was trying to think of a TV show, and the only one I could think of that I knew for sure was coming out is I know Marvel is coming out with She-Hulk. and they're actually going to do a series. And I'm very, very interested to see how that turns out. So,
cool. Yeah. I have a spoiler for Spider-Man. I'll share with you later.
Yes.
If you want to see, I saw it on Twitter yesterday. It was a picture from the movie. It appears that Sony kind of confirmed that it might be real.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
it's gonna be so good. It's just
it is, and it comes out in from when we're talking, like it comes out in like 5 weeks. So I cannot wait to see it.
So
just in
good.
time for Christmas.
I know, right? Yeah, just in Christmas.
Yeah, and the Marvel TV shows have been pretty good. So I'm kind of hoping.
That's why I'm like hoping She-Hulk is gonna be really good. It just, I don't know, because like obviously this was before Disney Plus, but like Cloak and Dagger, like it was good, but they flipped so much stuff from the original that I was just like, it was hard. It was hard for me to get through. So
yeah, and I'm intrigued by seeing how they bring Mark Ruffalo in it, how much he's in it as the Hulk, because
exactly,
he's very good at, like I never liked the Hulk movies by themselves, but I like him as like the side character in the movies, like when he was in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah,
which was great.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he'll be in She-Hulk, because if you have a She-Hulk, you got to have the Hulk.
I was gonna say you have to. Yeah, he's never really been though. Yeah, like the lead character of a movie. He's
when they've done Hulk movies, they weren't very good. So
which I think is why I'm so nervous about She-Hulk, because all of the Hulk movies have left you kind of with a bitter taste in your mouth. So we'll see.
We will see. Well, they haven't had too many missteps. We won't talk about the Eternals, but that's that 48% Rotten Tomato score was enough to keep me. I was like, I think I'll just wait for it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, my heart fell a little bit because there was so much hype for it. And then
me and my buddy had tickets for the opening day on Friday, because we leave work early and go see like a 2:00 show, and then get home at normal time.
Yeah,
and we had tickets, and when we saw the score come out, and we're like, yeah, maybe we should just hold off. And we're like, oh, we'll go see it on Veterans Day. And then I was like, how about we see it on Disney Plus?
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Because it was just like one of those things where I'm like, I don't really need to spend money on this. And then we kind of we're like, Eternals probably doesn't have anything to do with Spider-Man. So the next movie after that isn't until May with Doctor Strange. I'm like, by then, Eternals will be on Disney Plus. So I was like, I can wait.
It's not urgent in any way.
All right. So cool. Lots of Marvel in there.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it. So number 2, what are 2 non-health related goals you have for the next year?
So I literally moved to Colorado, got here Sunday, moved into my apartment on a Monday, started my new job on a Tuesday. So I was just bing, bang, boom. And I'm still technically in training until I don't think I get released on my own until April. And then it's once we hit our like 1 year, we get a sign-on bonus. So October of next year, I will hopefully have completed all that training. We'll hopefully we can go for promotions after our 1 year too. So I'm really kind of focused on that. Like definitely want to make it through without hurting myself or others. I'll put it that way. So
yeah. For sure. Yeah, man, that's a year for the sign-on bonus. That's kind of crazy.
Which I have to stay. It's so funny. That's how they get you. Like you have to stay for a year, and then you have to stay for another year. Or if you leave early, you have to like pay back, like they prorate it.
I know a few people, a few friends of mine have gone to companies that had sign-on bonuses, and they had it where they got it in their first check or whatever, but then if they left in that first year, they had to pay it back. Like at any point, it didn't get prorated. It was if you leave
the whole thing.
So it was like, and I think it was like somewhere like 5, somewhere 10,000. So it's like, or more, but
that's how they keep you. Yeah, for sure. I think we have to wait until the year because our training is so long. Like our training is like 6 months before we're officially like on our own. Like, so I think that's kind of why too, they push, you have to make it that 6 months and then make it another 6 months before you get it. So that way they don't waste all their like time and energy on it. So
So without saying where you work, but what do you do?
Oh, yeah, I guess I, I didn't see that. I actually am working in the 911 center here in
Okay,
Denver.
cool.
So I've dispatched before. I worked in the 911 center in Nashville. So it's work I've done before.
Mhm.
Thought I didn't ever would never do again, but honestly, it's one of those things where, I think everyone's worked a crappy customer service job, but this one at least, like, there is kind of quantifiable, oh, I've helped somebody.
Yeah.
We did our medical certification today, so I could literally help somebody birth a baby. Like, so it's hard. The hours can suck, but it's
Mhm.
definitely, one of those jobs you get to pat yourself on the back after. So
So
yeah.
I'm going to ask the question because I watch the show 911 sometimes.
Oh God. Oh, Connie Britton, bless her heart.
So do people just hang around like one station as everyone is as an emergency is happening?
I
Because
wish.
me and my wife watch it, and I think we watch it just because it's outrageous every time because it's in
So
LA.
outrageous.
But
Yeah.
and I get that nothing is real, none of it's really would happen. But it's always funny when you see like the 911 center like it's so dead, like nobody is answering phones and everybody's huddled around one desk as one thing is happening, and I'm like, it's Los Angeles. This would never happen.
Oh God, no. Yeah. I mean, you could go anywhere right now. Cause I will say, like, dispatch is one of those jobs where it is so high stress, the hours suck. Sometimes you work 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Mhm.
So it's a really high turnover. So yeah, there's never there's never times where that many people are just standing around, especially in the middle of the day. No way. Like,
Yeah.
from the technology they have on that show to that, it's just, I've laughed every episode because I'm just like, oh, I wish I lived in that world. That would be so nice.
Yeah. It's always interesting. TV shows never get anything right, so it doesn't matter whatever. Like
Nope.
in my, stuff I
Mm-mm.
work in, TV shows always get it way wrong, and
So wrong.
it's
Yeah.
always funny when you see it.
I
All
have to
right.
laugh. Yeah.
So now we'll get away from talking about not the fakeness of 911, the
Oh
TV
yeah.
show, and so number three, if someone came to you saying they were lacking motivation to stay consistent, what three pieces of advice would you give them?
So definitely on that. One, you always have to remember, like, momentum will carry you further than motivation will ever carry you. Like, building, they say 21 days to make a habit. It's true. You will not have motivation every single day of your life for anything. But when you have that momentum and when you make it a habit, anything from eating right to walking 10,000 steps, whatever it is, when it becomes so ingrained in you, that momentum carries you a lot. And I think sometimes people get hung up on the big goal. They see the forests without seeing the trees. You can set a goal and be like, I want to lose 100 pounds, but if you don't set smaller, more obtainable goals, I think it's really hard to reach those big goals. You have to celebrate losing 10 pounds, losing 50 pounds. Like, I think that's really important to help people keep going. And then having like quantifiable ways to measure your progress. Like, we all know the scale. You can use the scale for anything. But if you notice that you're running a mile in a faster time, that you take progress photos and you look smaller than you did a month ago, like, though, having that quantifiable, like, data right in front of your face, I think is huge motivation. I know it is for me. So those are kind of my three things.
Nice. Yeah. What you saw one that I always say is the small goals,
Yep.
because
It's easier. It's
it's so
easier
much
to be.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Number four, what have you discovered about yourself during your journey or transformation or life that surprised you the most?
I think just definitely, I mean, I know I kind of touched on the mental health stuff before, but you get so focused on that outside goal. It's obvious to anybody walking down the street when you're 300 plus pounds, like, you got to lose the weight. You have to do that. You have to be healthier. Somebody can take your blood pressure and be like, whoa, that's really high. You need medication for that. But the stuff on the inside, I don't think I realized how much work I wasn't doing. I was lifting all the weights, but I wasn't taking account of my own actions. I wasn't recognizing when I was hurting people around me. I mean, this last year alone, I've had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of relationships and friendships end, and a lot of that was my own doing, and I wasn't being accountable for that, and just I wasn't recognizing my own weaknesses, but I also wasn't recognizing my own strengths. Like I wasn't acknowledging when I was doing something right, or when I was apologizing to people. Like I wasn't giving myself enough credit. And I it's not something, when I set off to lose the weight, this wasn't supposed to be part of the journey. I'm really glad it is, but it's not something I was prepared to deal with or learn or celebrate in any way. So
okay. All right, last one. If in 150 years science fails to save us and all that is left is a book about your life, which I'm sure you'll actually make.
Maybe you'll actually read someday.
What would the title be, and what would the blurb tell us about Ange?
It's so funny because Facebook reminded me not too long ago that at one point I said my memoir was going to be mean things I didn't say out loud, which I don't think I can really say anymore because I don't always filter my thoughts on my stories. I just kind of say whatever I'm thinking. So I think it would come back to the roller coaster kind of idea. Maybe I can steal the fall down 7, stand up 8, because that is what this journey has been to me. That's how I would sum it up on my blurb. Is it's a series of ups and downs, and you just got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep on moving, kid. You just got to keep moving forward.
I like it. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we made it all the way to the end.
We made it.
I like that. I like that question just because everybody's is. I say this every time because everybody's is different, and there's no right answer, wrong answer. There's no normal answer. So, because like we were saying earlier, everybody has their cliche for everything, but that's kind of an off the wall question. I always give people time too, because I realized, I think it was Jason when I had him on early on, and it kind of got stuck a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I should probably give people this question early. Because Gormy was the only one that didn't get it, because that was the first episode and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I didn't have the question yet. But
he was the guinea pig.
He's a good guinea pig
to have, though. I feel like he
is. Yeah. All right. So if people want to reach out to you on the internet, we already mentioned your website. Where else can they find you?
Yeah, the website, and then Instagram primarily. Get Fit Again Ange, I think is my handle that I have now. Let me not so discreetly. Get Fit Again .Ange is my Instagram.
It'll be in the show notes. No worries. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for listening or watching this episode all the way in. You made it. Make sure you check out the show notes for links to anything and everything we mentioned in this episode, which is mostly the website and the social handles. Be sure to check out my website, becomingbret.com. One day it'll be updated with current episodes when I have time. You can follow me at Becoming Bret on Instagram and Twitter, and you can follow the show at Becoming More Pod on Instagram. Until next time, give us a 5-star review or DM me what you think about the show, and make sure you come back next week to learn how we can all become more.